The night sky opened up with heavy rain, pouring over the alien city. The streets were crowded with people rushing to find shelter. Traders pulled down their stalls, children cried, and machines sparked in the storm. But no one cared for the lone figure walking slowly through the downpour. She was an alien girl, her pale skin glowing faintly under the streetlights. Her long hair stuck to her face as the rain drenched her completely. Her steps grew weaker with every second. Her eyes were wide but unfocused, as if she was fighting something deep inside. The crowd noticed her, but they turned away. Some whispered in fear. Others crossed to the other side of the street. A few even muttered, "Stay away from her," but no one reached out. Her body finally gave up. She collapsed onto the cold, wet ground. Her knees hit first, then her hands, and at last her face pressed into the stone street. The rain splashed over her motionless body, washing away the dirt but showing her weakness to all. For a moment, the busy street went silent. Everyone saw her fall, yet not a single alien moved to help. They looked away as if she did not exist. Some even hurried faster to avoid the scene. But one man stopped. He was not from this city. He was not even from this world. He was a human. He had been walking with his jacket pulled tight around him, trying to ignore the storm. His boots were soaked, and his hair was dripping wet. But when he saw the girl fall, something inside him froze. He looked at her lying in the rain, fragile and shivering. People passed around her like water flowing around a stone. He could not understand why no one cared. His heart pounded as he rushed forward. "Hey!" His voice cut through the storm, but no one answered. He pushed aside two aliens who tried to block him and knelt beside the fainted girl. Her skin was cold like ice, her lips were trembling, and she was barely breathing. Without thinking twice, he pulled off his own shirt. It was soaked, but it was all he had. He covered her body with it, trying to give her warmth. He lifted her head gently, whispering, "Hold on. Don't give up." Around them, the crowd stared in silence. Their eyes wide with disbelief, some shook their heads, muttering words he could not hear through the rain. But he did not care. He slid his arms under her body and lifted her up. She was lighter than he expected, almost weightless. Yet he could feel the faint shiver of life still inside her. Her head rested against his chest as he stood. Rain ran down his back, but he kept her close. "Why won't anyone help?" He shouted at the crowd, but the aliens lowered their heads and turned away. Fear was in their eyes, fear of her, not of him. The human narrowed his eyes, confused and angry. "Fine," he muttered. "If no one else will, then I will." He began to carry her through the rain, searching for shelter. Each step felt heavier, not because of her weight, but because of the stairs burning into his back. She stirred slightly in his arms. Her lips moving, he leaned closer, trying to hear. Through the sound of the storm, he caught only one faint whisper, a word in a strange language, yet somehow he understood. It was a plea, a desperate call for help. His breath caught. How could he understand her? He had never learned this alien tongue, and yet her voice echoed in his mind as clear as his own. The human's heart pounded harder. He knew this was not a normal faint. Something was deeply wrong with her. Something bigger than the rain, bigger than this night. As he hurried into the narrow alleys, he kept repeating the word she whispered. It was not just a word, it was a warning. Behind him, the city seemed to grow darker. The people whispered to each other as he vanished into the rain. Some pointed, some shook their heads, others muttered with fear. "The cursed one has found a protector," someone hissed. But the human did not hear them. His only focus was the fragile life in his arms. The rain kept falling, thunder roared above, and lightning split the sky. But through it all, he walked on, determined. The girl's faint breath brushed against his chest, a sign that she was still alive, still fighting. He pulled the shirt tighter around her and whispered to her softly, "Don't worry, I've got you now, I won't let you go." Yet deep inside, he felt a question burning. Who was this girl? And why was everyone afraid to touch her? The rain had not slowed down. It beat against the rooftops and poured through the narrow alleys. The human struggled forward, carrying the fainted alien girl in his arms. His own shirt was still wrapped tightly around her trembling body. Every drop of rain made her feel even colder. He searched for a safe place, somewhere hidden from the staring eyes of the city. Finally, he spotted a broken shelter at the edge of the marketplace. The roof was cracked and the walls leaned dangerously, but it was dry inside. He ducked under the arch, breathing heavily, and lowered her gently onto the ground. Her chest rose and fell, weak but steady. He brushed wet hair from her face, studying her features for the first time. Her skin glowed faintly even in the dark. Her cheekbones sharp, her lips pale blue. She looked fragile, almost unreal, like someone who did not belong in the chaos of the marketplace. "Why is everyone afraid of you?" he whispered. But of course. She did not answer. Her eyes remained closed. From outside the shelter came voices low and sharp. The human tensed, pressing himself against the wall. Through a crack in the wood, he saw a group of aliens gathered under the rain, cloaked in dark robes, their voices carried in the storm. "Did you see the human?" one asked, his tone heavy with suspicion. "Yes," another replied. "He touched her, he even carried her. He doesn't know what danger he has invited." The human's jaw clenched. His heart pounded as he realized they were speaking about him. About her? He looked back at the girl lying on the ground. How could she be a danger? She looked helpless, like she could barely breathe. The whispers grew louder. "If she wakes, everything will be ruined. She must not survive." The human froze. His blood ran cold. Who were these people? Why did they want her dead? Suddenly, the girl stirred. Her lips parted, and a faint sound escaped. The human leaned close. Hey, stay with me." Her voice was barely a breath, a language he should not have known, but somehow it echoed clearly in his mind. She whispered, "They will come. Don't let them find me." He sat back, stunned. The words were alien, yet he understood every one of them, as if her thoughts were flowing directly into his own. He glanced again outside. The cloaked figures were still there, their heads turning slowly as if searching the shadows. One of them hissed, "She cannot be far. The cursed blood leaves a trail." The human knew he had little time. He looked back at her. She was shivering, her skin glowing faintly where his shirt slipped aside. His eyes widened. For the first time, he noticed a strange mark on her collarbone. It pulsed softly with blue light like a living flame hidden under her skin. He reached out almost without thinking. His fingers brushed the mark, and a shock ran through his hand. His vision blurred, and for a moment he saw something. Flashes of battles, towers burning and a crown falling into the dirt. He gasped and pulled his hand back. His heart raced, his eyes darted to her. She had opened her eyes halfway, looking at him with weak fear. "Don't," she whispered. "If they see the mark, they will kill you too." His mind swirled with questions. "Who are you?" he asked in a rough whisper. "And why are they after you?" But she closed her eyes again, too weak to reply. The voices outside grew closer. The cloaked figures spread out, scanning the alleys. Their boots splashed in the puddles. Their shadows stretched across the shelter wall. The human knew they would find him if he stayed. He clenched his jaw. He could run. He could leave her and slip away. No one would blame him. But when he looked down at her small form, wrapped in his soaked shirt, her breath faint but steady, he shook his head. "Not happening," he muttered. "I won't let them have you." He stood. Lifting her once more into his arms, he pressed his back against the wall. Waiting for the right moment, outside, one of the cloaked figures stopped. His head turned sharply toward the shelter. His glowing eyes narrowed. "She's here," he hissed. The human's pulse jumped. He took a deep breath, his mind racing. He spotted a side opening in the wall, half blocked by old crates. It was small, but maybe just big enough. Without a second thought, he moved. His boots splashed quietly as he pushed through the gap. The crates scraped, the noise echoing through the rain. "Over there!" the cloaked alien shouted. The human didn't look back. He tightened his grip on the girl and darted into the narrow alley beyond. The rain poured heavier, blinding him. The sound of pursuit followed close behind. The girl stirred weakly, her voice trembling against his chest. "They won't stop?" "I don't care," he said through clenched teeth. "As long as you're alive, neither will I." The storm raged above the city. The human stumbled through the narrow back alleys, carrying the alien girl close to his chest. Every drop of rain stung his skin, but he didn't stop. Behind him, footsteps echoed, cloaked figures chasing through the storm. He turned sharply into a passage, then another. Weaving through the maze of stone and metal, at last, he found an abandoned storage shed with its door hanging loose. He pushed it open with his shoulder and slipped inside. Breathing hard, the room was dark, filled with old crates and rusted tools. He set the girl down gently on a pile of cloth. Her face was pale, her breathing shallow. He crouched beside her, brushing her hair back again. "You're safe, at least for now," he whispered. Though he wasn't sure if it was true, a faint glow drew his eyes to her collarbone. The mark he had touched earlier was shining again, pulsing like a heartbeat under her skin. It gave off a soft blue light that lit the dark shed. He frowned, reaching out, his fingers hovered above it, remembering the flash of visions he had seen. Towers burning, a crown falling. Her face covered in tears. "What are you?" he whispered. The girl stirred, her eyelids trembling. Slowly, she opened her eyes, glowing faintly like stars hidden behind clouds. She looked weak, yet fear filled her gaze. "Don't touch it," she said softly, her voice breaking. The human leaned closer. "Why? What is it?" Her lips parted, but no sound came for a moment. She swallowed with effort, then whispered, "It's the seal of my house, the mark of my bloodline." He tilted his head, confused. "Bloodline?" She nodded weakly. "My family ruled once, before the Empire destroyed us, before they hunted us down like animals. That mark is proof I'm still alive, proof they missed one." Her body shook as she spoke. She tried to hide the glowing mark with trembling fingers, her eyes filled with tears. "Anyone who sees it will kill me to protect themselves. Or to serve the Empire." The human sat back, shocked, his chest tightened. He finally understood why the crowd avoided her, why the cloaked hunters searched for her. She wasn't just some lost girl. She was the last remnant of a fallen royal house. Outside, thunder roared. He clenched his fists. "So that's why they want you dead." She turned her face away, whispering, "I should have died with the rest. If you stay near me, you'll die too." He shook his head. "No, I don't believe that. If they wanted you gone, they should have done it already. You're still here." "That has to mean something." Her eyes flickered back to him, shining faintly with disbelief. "Why are you helping me?" The human paused, staring down at her small form, his soaked shirt still wrapped around her like a blanket. "Because nobody else would," he said simply. "Because when I saw you fall, I couldn't walk away, and now, I can't let them have you." Her lips trembled. She wanted to protest, but no words came. Suddenly, noise erupted outside the shed, the sound of boots splashing in puddles, voices shouting. The cloaked hunters were close. The human's heart jumped. He crouched lower, pulling her gently against him. His eyes scanned the dark room for a way out. Then, without warning, the mark on her chest flared brighter, filling the shed with light. He raised a hand to shield his eyes. "What the—" Images flooded his mind again, clearer this time. He saw soldiers breaking through palace gates, a child running through halls, fire-consuming walls, and then a woman's voice whispering, "Run, my daughter. Live," he gasped, the vision fading. His head throbbed. He staggered back, nearly falling against a crate. The girl grabbed his wrist weakly. "You saw it, didn't you?" He nodded, still breathless. "I saw your past." Her eyes filled with tears. "Then you know I carry a curse. That's why they call me dangerous. That's why they whisper in fear." The human looked at her trembling form. Then at the glowing mark, he shook his head firmly. "That's not a curse. That's proof you survived. Proof they failed to erase you." Her lips parted slightly, as if his words touched a part of her that had long been silent. For a moment, hope flickered in her eyes. But then a crash shook the shed. The door burst inward, lightning flashing behind the cloaked hunters as they stepped in. Their eyes locked instantly on the glowing mark. "There she is." One of them hissed, "The cursed blood lives." The human stood quickly, moving in front of her, his fists clenched. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me." The hunters laughed cruelly, their weapons glinting in the stormlight, but the girl, still weak, whispered one last warning. "If they see the mark, they will never stop." The human glanced back at her, his jaw set, his voice low but steady. "Then I'll make sure they regret ever trying." The broken shed shook as the door slammed open. Rain and wind burst inside, and the shadowy figures stepped forward, their cloaks dripped with water, and their glowing eyes fixed on the faint blue light of the mark shining on the alien girl's chest. "There," one of them hissed, pointing. "The cursed blood still breathes." The human stood in front of her, his arms spread wide as if his body alone could shield her. His clothes clung to his skin from the rain, his face sharp with anger. "Stay back," he growled. The hunters laughed, their voices were low, almost like growls. "Move aside, human," one of them commanded. "You do not know what she is." "I don't care," the human snapped. His voice echoed inside the shed. "She's alive, and I won't let you touch her." The girl behind him whispered weakly. "They won't stop, they're bound by oath. They'll hunt me forever." Her words tightened the human's chest, but he didn't step aside. Instead, he clenched his fists. Ready to fight though he had no weapon. One of the hunters raised a long staff that glowed with red symbols. Lightning flashed behind him. His voice boomed, "You protect the cursed? Then you share her fate." The human's mind raced. He knew he was outnumbered and unarmed, yet he also knew he couldn't abandon her. His eyes darted across the shed, old crates, rusted tools, broken planks, nothing useful, until his gaze landed on a jagged metal pipe leaning against the wall. With one quick move, he snatched it up. Holding it like a club, his knuckles were white. His breathing sharp, the hunters paused, smirking at his defiance. "A stick against us?" One mocked. "You truly are a fool." But the human didn't flinch. "Sometimes a fool is the only one willing to stand," he shot back. The hunters lunged forward and chaos erupted. The human swung the pipe with desperate strength. The metal rang out as it clashed against the glowing staff. Sparks flew. The force jolted through his arms, but he held on. He ducked another strike, rolled to the side, and shoved a crate into one of the hunters to slow him down. Behind him, the girl cried out weakly, trying to sit up. Her glowing mark flickered brighter. Filling the shed with blue light, the hunters hissed, shielding their eyes. "Cover it! Cover the mark!" One shouted. The human seized the moment. Swinging hard, the pipe cracked into the side of a hunter's cloak, sending him stumbling. Another lunged, grabbing his arm, but the human twisted, slamming his elbow into the attacker's jaw. The fight was wild and uneven. The human's strength was raw, born of survival, while the hunters were trained, yet his desperation gave him an edge. He wasn't fighting for himself. He was fighting for her, but they were many, and he was only one. His chest burned with every breath. His arms ached from the heavy swings. He stumbled back, nearly slipping on the wet floor. The girl's weak voice called out, "Stop! You'll die if you fight them alone." He looked back at her, his eyes blazing. "Then I'll die standing." The hunters advanced again, surrounding him, their weapons raised, lightning from the storm outside flashing across their cloaked faces. And then, the mark on the girl's chest burst with light. The entire shed glowed as if a star had fallen inside. The hunters recoiled, shouting in pain as the blue light seared their eyes. The human shielded his face but didn't move away from her. He could feel the heat of the mark burning the air. The girl's voice rang out, louder than before, though her body was still weak. "Leave us!" For a heartbeat, even the storm outside seemed to pause. The hunters stepped back, their faces twisted with rage but also fear. One hissed, "The bloodline speaks again. The seal is not broken." They backed toward the door, still shielding their eyes. "This isn't over." "Human," the leader growled. "She carries a curse that will burn you too. Protect her now. But soon you'll beg for death," and with that, they vanished into the rain, their cloaks swallowed by the storm. Silence fell inside the shed. The only sound was the girl's faint breathing and the thunder rolling far above. The human dropped the pipe, his chest heaving. His body shook with exhaustion, but his eyes stayed on her. "What was that?" he asked, still stunned by the light. Her head turned slowly toward him, her eyes shimmering like stars after a storm. "The mark. It responds when I'm in danger. It carries the last power of my family." He sank to his knees beside her, brushing wet strands of hair from her face. "Then that power just saved us both." She looked at him with fragile sadness. "No, it only made them more certain. They won't stop now. Not until I'm gone." The human pressed his hand gently over her cold fingers. "Then let them come," he said firmly, "because I'm not leaving you." Her lips parted, as if she wanted to argue, but instead, a single tear rolled down her cheek. She whispered, Why would you risk everything for me?" He gave a faint, tired smile. "Because when everyone else turned away, I couldn't." The shed was quiet again, broken only by the sound of the rain dripping through the cracks in the roof. The human sat on the floor, his back pressed against the wall. His chest rose and fell heavily after the fight. Across from him, the alien girl lay on the cloth. Her body trembling, her eyes half open, she looked fragile, as if the light of her mark had burned away the last of her strength. Her voice was weak, barely more than a whisper. "You should leave." "Before they come back?" The human shook his head instantly. "Not happening." Her eyes blinked slowly, confused. "You don't understand. They won't stop. The hunters will follow me across every city, every world. Anyone near me becomes a target." He leaned closer, his tone sharp. "Then let them target me." "I don't care." Her lips trembled. "Why?" "You don't even know me." He paused, staring at her pale face. Her silver hair was plastered to her skin by the storm. Her fragile hands gripped his soaked shirt as if afraid he might vanish. He swallowed hard, then said quietly, "Because no one deserves to be hunted like this, and because I made a choice. When you fell in that rain, I couldn't walk away." That was the moment. Her gaze searched his face, as if looking for a lie, but all she saw was stubborn honesty. The girl closed her eyes, tears slipping down. "My family once ruled a world of light. We believed our people could live free. But the Empire feared us, they called our blood cursed. They burned our palace, they slaughtered everyone. I was the only one who escaped. And I've been running ever since." The human's fists tightened. His chest ached at the pain in her voice. "And now they want to finish what they started." She nodded weakly. "Yes, they will not stop until the bloodline is erased. That's why you must leave me." But he shook his head harder, leaning close until his words cut through her despair. "Listen to me, I don't care what they call you. Curse or blessing, you're alive. That's what matters, and as long as you're alive, I'll protect you." Her eyes widened, disbelief shining in them. "Protect me? Against an empire?" He gave a faint, tired smile. "I'm human. We're good at impossible things." For the first time since he found her, she let out a fragile laugh. It broke quickly into a sob, but it was still a sound of life, she whispered. "You'll regret this promise." He shook his head firmly. "No, I won't. I don't make promises lightly. And this one I'll keep." Her hand lifted weakly, trembling as it touched his wrist. "Then, if you stay, you should know the truth." The human leaned in closer, listening. Her eyes gleamed faintly in the darkness as she whispered, "The mark on my body is not just a seal. It's also a beacon. When it shines, the hunters can trace me. They'll know where I am. They'll come again." Stronger than before, the human's breath caught, his mind raced. Every moment with her was more dangerous than the last. But he looked at her trembling form and his heart hardened. "Then I'll find a way to hide you. I'll find a way to keep them from seeing that light." She shook her head slowly. "You can't. No one can. That's why people run from me. That's why they leave me in the streets to them. I'm already dead." He touched her hand, his voice steady. "Not to me." Her lips parted, the faintest glow of hope flickering in her eyes. "Why are you like this? Your kind shouldn't even understand our words, yet you do. When I speak, you hear me. When my mark glows, you see my past. Why?" The human had no answer. He thought back to the strange visions, the whispers that had filled his mind when he touched the mark. He had no reason to understand her language, yet somehow he did. He shook his head. "I don't know, but maybe that means I was meant to find you." The girl's breath caught. She stared at him as if his words carried weight she couldn't explain. But before either could speak further, a loud horn echoed through the storm outside. The sound made her flinch, her voice trembled. "They're calling reinforcements." The human stood quickly. Scanning the broken shed, he clenched the metal pipe again. Though his arms still ached from the fight, he turned back to her. "We need to move if we stay. They'll trap us." She tried to rise, but her body collapsed back into the cloth. Her strength was gone, her lips trembled. "I can't." "My body won't move." The human crouched, sliding one arm under her back, the other under her legs. He lifted her carefully into his arms once more. Her head rested against his chest, her breathing shallow. "Then I'll carry you," he said, his voice low but firm. "As far as it takes." She looked up at him weakly, her voice breaking. "If you do this, your life will never be the same. You'll be hunted like me." He tightened his grip, his eyes fierce. "So be it, I already told you. I'm not leaving you." Her tears mixed with the rain on his chest. Her trembling lips whispered one last question. "Why? Why promise me this?" The human looked down at her, his jaw set, his voice like stone. "Because I can't stand a world where no one helps, and if I have to stand alone, then I'll stand." The horn still echoed through the storm, a chilling sound that rolled across the rooftops of the alien city. The human tightened his hold on the faint girl in his arms and stepped out of the shed. Rain poured harder, drenching them both instantly. Lightning cut the sky into blinding flashes. He moved quickly, his boots splashing through the flooded alleys. His heart beat fast, every step heavy with the weight of danger. The girl stirred weakly against his chest, her voice trembling. "They're closing in. I can feel it." He looked down at her pale face, water running down her cheeks like tears. "Then we'll stay ahead of them," he said firmly, though his own fear gnawed at him. Behind them, voices shouted, cloaked figures racing through the streets. Torches and glowing staffs lit the darkness, hunting lights sweeping over walls and alleys. The human turned sharply into a narrow passage. The wall so tight his shoulders scraped against wet stone. He ducked under hanging wires, his breath hot in the cold rain. He knew if they were caught here, there would be no escape. The girl's mark flickered faintly through his soaked shirt, a dim blue light. He pressed her closer, trying to cover it, whispering, "Don't glow now." "Not now." But she shook her head weakly. "I can't control it. It knows I'm in danger." Her words made his stomach twist. He gritted his teeth. "Then we'll just have to be faster." At the end of the passage, he spotted a ladder leaning against a wall without hesitation. He shifted her carefully to one arm and began climbing. The metal was slippery, his muscles burned, but he pulled them both upward. His breath came in short gasps at the rooftop. The wind slammed against him, nearly knocking him back. He crouched low, shielding her from the cold gusts, and looked across the city. Below, hunters spread out, their lights moving like restless fireflies through the storm. "We need to reach the old aqueduct," she whispered faintly. "It leads outside the city. To the hills, there we can hide." "How do you know that?" he asked, crawling across the rooftop. "My family. We once built the aqueducts," she said, her eyes closing again. "I remember the paths, burned into me since childhood." The human nodded, determination tightening his jaw. "Then that's where we're going." He moved across the rooftops. Keeping low, his soaked hair clung to his face. The city below roared with chaos, alarms and horns mixing with thunder. The hunters were everywhere, their voices echoed. "Find them. The cursed girl cannot leave this city alive." Every shout pressed harder against his mind, but he didn't stop. Suddenly, a hunter leapt from a nearby roof, landing in front of him. The figure raised a glowing blade, its edge humming with deadly energy. The human's heart jolted. He gripped the metal pipe still tied at his belt, sliding the girl gently to the ground behind him. "Stay low," he whispered. The hunter lunged, and steel rang in the storm. Sparks flew as the pipe clashed against the blade. The human's arms shook under the force. He ducked, swung low, and shoved the attacker back with raw strength. But the hunter was skilled, striking again, forcing him back toward the edge of the roof. Rain blurred his vision, his hands slipping on the wet pipe. The girl cried weakly, "No, don't fall!" At the last second, the human twisted, using the hunter's weight against him. The cloaked figure stumbled, slipping on the wet tiles, and fell screaming into the darkness below. The human gasped for breath, chest heaving. He turned back, scooping her into his arms once more. "We keep moving." He ran across another rooftop, leaping over a gap that almost swallowed them both. His boots slammed down hard, his muscles burning, yet he kept running. Guided by her faint whispers, "There," she pointed weakly, her trembling hand lifting toward the distant towers. The aqueduct gate. Beneath the bridge, the human followed her direction, climbing down from the roofs into a wider street. The rain there was heavier, flooding the stones. Hunters poured into the square ahead. Blocking the path, his heart raced. He glanced around quickly. Then he spotted a cart loaded with barrels by the wall. With a grunt, he rushed forward, kicked it hard, and sent the barrels crashing across the street. The hunters stumbled, shouting in anger as the human dashed past with her in his arms. Her head rested against his shoulder, her breath shallow. You risk too much," she whispered. He tightened his grip, voice steady. "No such thing when someone's life is on the line." Finally, the gate came into view, a massive arch of stone half hidden in shadows. Water rushed below it, roaring as it flowed out of the city. The aqueduct's old tunnels. The human hurried toward it, but as he reached the edge, more hunters emerged from the shadows. Blocking the way, their leader stepped forward, his red staff glowing, his voice carried through the storm. "Nowhere left to run, human. Hand over the girl, and I'll make your death swift." The human's jaw tightened. He looked down at her fragile face, then back at the hunters, his grip on the pipe hardened, his voice cut like steel. "You'll have to kill me first." The storm raged above the aqueduct gate. Rain poured like endless sheets of silver. The human stood, pipe clenched in his hand, the alien girl weak in his arms. Ahead, hunters blocked the exit, their glowing weapons cutting through the darkness. Behind him, more shadows closed in. He was trapped, yet he did not step back. His body ached, his lungs burned, but his grip on the girl never loosened. The leader of the hunters stepped forward. Red staff raised, his eyes glowed like embers. "Give her to us, human. She is cursed blood. A danger to all. Do this and your suffering ends." The human's jaw tightened. He lowered the girl gently to her feet. Keeping her steady with one arm, he stepped in front of her again, water running down his face like fire in the storm. His voice was firm, unshaken. You call her cursed, but I see someone alive, someone worth saving. If protecting her makes me cursed too, then so be it, the hunters snarled, raising their weapons. The girl's weak fingers clutched the edge of his soaked shirt, the same shirt he had wrapped around her when she collapsed in the rain. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Why are you still standing for me?" "They'll kill you." He looked back at her, rain dripping from his hair into his eyes. His smile was tired but fierce, because no one else would. And because when I gave you my shirt, I gave you more than cloth, I gave you a promise. I won't break it now, her eyes widened. Tears mixing with the storm, that shirt, drenched, torn, yet wrapped around her, was proof that one human had chosen kindness over fear. The hunters charged. The storm itself seemed to roar as weapons clashed. The human fought with raw strength, swinging the pipe with both hands. Sparks burst as it met glowing blades. His arm screamed with pain, yet he did not falter. He pushed one back, slammed another into the wall, every move fueled by one thought: keep her alive. But there were too many. He stumbled, a blade slashed across his arm, pain tearing through him. He gritted his teeth. Refusing to drop the pipe, the girl cried out, crawling forward despite her weakness, her hand pressed against her glowing mark. "Stop. Leave him." Her mark flared with blinding light. The aqueduct arch lit up like dawn. The hunters shrieked, covering their eyes. The power in her chest poured out, shaking the stones beneath them. The human shielded her, even from her own light, his arms wrapped around her trembling body. "Easy. Don't burn yourself out," he whispered. The hunters fell back, fear etched into their faces. The leader spat with rage. "This isn't the end. She cannot hide forever. The Empire will come." And with those words, they vanished into the storm, retreating into the night. Silence fell, broken only by the roar of water rushing beneath the aqueduct. The human sank to his knees, still holding her, his chest heaving, his arm bleeding, but his eyes steady. "We made it," he breathed. She looked up at him, her face pale but glowing faintly in the stormlight. "You fought them all." "For me?" He gave a weak laugh, shaking his head. "Not for you, for us, for what's right." Her lips trembled. No one has ever chosen me before, always fear, always hatred. But you?" Her fingers gripped the soaked shirt wrapped around her shoulders, her tears fell onto it. This shirt, it's more than cloth now, it's a shield. It's proof that one human didn't turn away." The human's throat tightened. He brushed wet strands of hair from her face. "Then hold on to it, because it means you're not alone anymore." The rain softened at last, the storm beginning to fade. They sat together at the edge of the aqueduct, the endless water rushing out of the city below. The girl leaned weakly against him, her head resting on his shoulder. For the first time, she allowed herself to breathe without fear. Her voice was fragile but steady. "If I survive, I'll never forget this night. I'll never forget you." He smiled faintly, his tired eyes gazing into the fading storm. "You will survive. I'll make sure of it." The girl closed her eyes, holding the torn shirt close to her chest as if it were treasure. In the darkest hour of her hunted life, it had become a bond, a promise, the promise of a human who refused to let her die alone. The hunters would return, the Empire would come, but the girl no longer carried her curse alone in the storm. One shirt had become a vow, and that vow would change both their lives and maybe even the fate of the galaxy.